1, I have to read the governor's statement first. Pursuant to Governor Baker's, oh, hang on, I got to start recording first. Okay, we're recording. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust Fund will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.townofgb.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by following the Zoom link on the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So, first order of business is approval of the minutes of October 8th. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or corrections?
Who was the motion in the second?
John Katz made the motion. Garfield made
I
the
seconded.
Garfield seconded it. Thank you.
Any further discussion, corrections? Okay, roll call vote. Garfield?
Here?
No, I'm just asking to approve the minutes.
Oh, yes, I approve.
Yes. Larissa?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
And John?
Yes.
And I. Okay, that's approved. I want to get a couple of these things in here. Hello, Carolyn.
Hi.
Glad you made it.
Thank you.
A couple of things before the presentation. One was, I sent around the material on this, the Chapter 40B deed rider, which is, the chapel wants to convert to a universal deed rider, which is basically keeps the property affordable in perpetuity. Does anybody have any questions about that on the board? Did you go over it?
I did read it.
I read it.
So what I would like, if the board agrees, I would like to submit a letter to the select board to essentially recommend that they do adopt this, allow CHAPA to, that we recommend that they can make the universal deed restriction their operating deed restriction.
You want a motion?
Could I get a motion? Sure.
Yes, I move that we do just as you said.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right. I made up a little letter. It's 2 sentences. It says, to the select board, the board of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund strongly recommends that the select board allow CHAPA to switch all of their 40B properties to a universal deed rider that keeps the properties permanently affordable, since it's a stronger deed restriction than currently in use. Does that sound fine with everyone?
That's fine with me.
Fine with
Okay.
it.
Can I have a motion to send this to the select board? Oh, you already made the motion. I'll just vote then. Larissa?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Garfield?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
And I. Okay, I will send that out. Has everyone had a chance to look at the application for down payment assistance? I know
Yes.
Gina is here today. If you have some questions, she could probably answer them. I think she meets all of the qualifications. She's in the financial guidelines. Is there a concern or a question that anyone has from the board?
I don't have any.
Either.
I don't have any either.
Okay, so could I have a motion to approve Gina's application? Gina, would you like to say anything? You don't have to.
First of all, if I'm about to be approved, I may start crying, but
Okay.
I had no idea. I'm not a person that lives in Great Barrington, but I'm kind of connected in the kind of like construct and I do a lot of things to help homeless people, and I advocate for people and help them with Social Security applications, and so I'm kind of connected with things that help people. I usually don't ask for them myself, but I had no idea this thing even existed.
We got to promote it more. I can see that.
How
I'm
did
just
How did you find out about it?
So what happened was when I went to go apply for a mortgage, it had been a long time since I had been through that process. I've been in the house I live in now for 15 years, and literally the last 7, I have hung on tooth and nail, sometimes selling off my personal possessions to afford my mortgage. Then I finally righted my ship after my divorce and have become so much more solvent, financially solvent. And through the help of Greylock Federal Credit Union, I don't know if you know, but they have a really wonderful financial help assistance program. And so what happened was they said to me, you were 32 days late you paid on the 32nd day on your mortgage in April. So that means you are not able to get in these like 3% down, 2%. And I said, wait a minute, are you telling me I have to put 20% down on anything I buy? You know where we live. You know what's happened to the prices of homes.
Yeah.
So that means unless I have 40 grand, 50 grand, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've got to downsize. I can't hold on here anymore. When I did that, I just typed in help affordable housing in Google. I just typed help affordable housing in Berkshire County. And somehow the home popped up on Construct's website. Through the home showing up on Construct's website, I wound my way in, and here I am. I didn't even know that house was affordable. I didn't even know that house existed, the townhouse existed, and I certainly had no idea about this fund that helped people like me get into a home. I had no idea that it was out there.
Good karma coming back to you then.
I'm very happy.
It'd be good for you. You could be one of our spokespersons.
Yeah. So we have, so we've had a motion to approve, and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, roll call vote then. Larissa
Aye.
and Fred
Aye.
and Garfield,
Aye.
John
Yes.
and I. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All the paperwork and we'll take care of it, but it's been approved.
I just cannot. I'm humbled and I'm thankful and so grateful. And thank you for doing this for this community, because everyone thinks we're just full of $1 million third homeowners, and that's not the facts.
That's right.
Look behind the railroad tracks at the tent sitting up in the homeless people in the back. So I just want to thank all of you very, very much for doing what you're doing. It's good work, really good work.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you though, just logistically, what do I do now?
I'll be in touch with you after the
Okay.
meeting. Just,
Okay.
I'll go through the whole thing with you.
All right, thank
You
you
just
so
sign some
much.
papers.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
Welcome.
Bye.
Good luck.
All right. Good for you.
Okay. So, next up is Habitat. So, Carolyn, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Thanks. But you guys should
And I'm
give yourself a
going
little round of applause. That was a big thing you guys did tonight.
Yeah.
And you got to feel it firsthand from the people you serve. That's kind of cool.
Indeed.
And Construct's front page, endorsement as well. So
Yeah.
Okay, so Carolyn, I've just made you a co-host,
Great.
and
So I'm going to get a little PowerPoint up. June and I are going to tag team on the presentation. And I also wanted to thank you guys for giving the RFP an extension. As many of you know, I ended up with COVID. So even it's a long haul of getting back. So it's not as cohesive as I normally would have liked it to be, but we really thought we covered all of the points and
Well, good
whatnot,
luck.
so.
Wish you the best.
Thanks. I'm feeling much better. I am looking forward to the weekend though. So let me get this on full screen. And then we'll go, we have quite a few slides. Some of them are just for enjoyment. So we'd like you to ask any questions you have at the end, or if we're at a complex piece, you can ask us there, especially like with affordability and stuff like that. So we're excited about breaking new ground in Housatonic, and especially for home ownership. Can everybody see my screen?
No.
Okay, I should have asked that question first. Let me just go back and relook at my share. Let's see, maybe I have to go out and do it before. Bear with me.
in theory, you are a co-host.
I know, it's not you. I think I didn't hit the little share my screen button, which I'm trying to find now.
I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, Bill and I did it earlier to practice, so let me just get back to the Zoom thing. There we go. I think I did a little too quickly. There we go. Now,
Now you got it.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
now I'm good. Do you see the whole screen with all of my sidebar
Yeah.
things? Okay.
Yep.
Can everybody live with that? Because it's easier for me to know which of us is coming.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
kind of flip to that. June, you'll be up on slide 3.
Sure.
Because I know that you want to talk about the coverage area, but these are our planning premises of 14 to 20 units, 10 to 16 buildings. A little bit of that will be depending on what the applications are, the funding sources are, and then June, do you want to take it away with the rest of that?
Or the coverage is just the square footage of the buildings versus the square footage of the lot. So it does not include driveways or the road. And it's well below the limits for a PERD, which is at 20%.
We're using a phased building approach, not only because of financing, but also giving the community a chance to embrace the change, because it might feel like a lot to the community. And these are our housing principles, mixed income, home ownership, because we feel like with mixed income, we have the opportunity of bringing everybody along and up. Very family-centric, inclusive. The diverse and dynamic means we get to adjust to what's going on the ground, much like we're doing with the COVID right now. All Habitat homes right now are being built with 3 and 4 bedrooms, because right now people need additional space. Because if you are having to do homeschooling or run your business, you need that. And we got advice from several realtors about what the market is looking for now that has changed even since March. People don't want to be boxed into small spaces. And obviously consistent with surrounding neighborhoods. And we're going to have the community name the project. So that'll be a fun thing to get some folks interested. And we'll have buffers of trees between the project and the neighbors. And a lot of that will have to do with the layout of the houses. And we really feel that home is where the community begins. And we are a community builder. We build what our communities need and are adaptable to what's going on the ground and flexible. That's what's nice about working with Habitat. And these are our mission-aligned designs. It's about accessibility and durability, and especially sustainability, because we want houses that last a long time, look good a long time. And when we design the exterior of the house, we're designing it for the community as well as for the family. We always include aging in place so that we know in the Berkshires especially, you have multi-generational families, and I'm seeing that more and more right now. And then COVID adaptive spaces. So we're not a custom builder, but we offer a range of home designs that are better able to fit buyers' needs. So it's not a one-size-fits-all design. And we'll show you some pictures in a few slides about that.
Carolyn, what do you have in mind for the COVID adaptive space?
So we're anticipating having first floor extra rooms. It could either be a bedroom, or it could be an area where you have an office or where you do homeschooling, especially having more thoughtfulness about Wi-Fi and things of that nature. So that's where we're really thinking, because so many people right now, I know I have 3 friends that are trying to run business and do homeschooling in a very small space. And it's really stressing families out, because there's just not enough room if you have multiple kids to even break them up into separate spaces to do their work. So it's very challenging times. And I think that what will end up, this is just my own prediction, is that I think what will happen after this is that many people will remain working from home for quite some time, because the fear of it coming back or never going away is very, very upfront right now. June, do you want to talk about affordability?
Sure. The units will be affordable in perpetuity, so that will happen through a deed restriction. The deed restriction will be similar to what you just talked about with CHAPA. The units will be added to Great Barrington's affordable housing inventory through a local initiatives program, which is a program through DHCD. It's one of the things that I'll be helping Habitat do. And they will be, the thing with Habitat is they build for the needs of their group, their members, the people who apply at the beginning. So we can't exactly say what the unit mix will be. Obviously, I had to use a unit mix to come up with a budget, and I did that. But we predicted the unit mix based on your very recent housing needs assessment in Great Barrington. So to the extent possible, the units will follow this pattern, so that there will be, as this is our prediction. This is where we started with.
And then Habitat standard house size is 10,000 or 1,070 square feet for a 3-bedroom and 1,230 square feet for a 4-bedroom. So we hope that you would like to know that. And here's some recent homes that we've completed, and you'll see that it's really, we look at what's going on in the neighborhood, the topography, or whatever. So, and then the family size that's going in, because families have to do sweat equity. We have an application process that's very far out when designs are still happening. So it's not like we're building on spec. We already have an idea of what people need and what adjustments need to be made. Like this house right here, the 4-bedroom, when it first started, we thought we only needed a 3-bedroom, but one of the parents ended up taking custody of their child. So we were able to make it we made some adjustments early in the process that we could make it a walkout and add the extra bedrooms that were necessary in the back. And then here's two more. You'll see the one on the left, that was the one we just recently finished in Dalton. When we started out, this was a Wells Fargo house that they initially thought was going to just be a simple rehab. And then once we actually got in and took ownership, what we found was it had to come all the way down to the foundation. So we were kind of like stuck with the footprint, but we ended up being able to make it work for the family. And then the one on the right, you'll see is an actual rendering. That's what we're building right now in Madison. And we specifically use this design because it's two sisters. These are 2-bedroom units, and they're two sisters that have always lived next door to each other, and they do swap off childcare for each other. So we made sure to build it so that they will really have good and desirable living. And we're really about making sure there's a place at the table for everyone, so diversity is very encouraged. And then we'll get back to June's numbers.
Okay, so when we talk about the sales prices, you're looking at that top line, row 2. But row 2 got built from the bottom. So we really are starting at row 19. And row 19 is determined by the federal government. They print every year the affordable income limits for various income, for various portions of the area median income. So these are the 2020 numbers, which are a little bit different than what was in the feasibility study because the numbers don't come out till later in the year, and they didn't come out till July this year. So you start with the annual income, then obviously the monthly income is just dividing by 12, and then again dividing by 3 because you should not spend more than 33% of your income on housing. So we take line 21 and we put it up in line 15, and that is what our target is for the sale price of the house. So we have to take into account all of these things like the HOA payment, the mortgage insurance, the hazard insurance, and the property tax. And that's why you can't just get these numbers printed for you from DHCD because it depends on what town you're in. The property tax is different in every town. And you'll notice we did use kind of a high interest rate for what's going on right now because we don't know, where it's going to be. So we wanted to be cautious with that. And, we don't know, for the people that if we're talking about first-time home buyers, it depends on what program they can get into. So we were a little cautious with the interest rate. But that's the formulas are all in there, if anybody wants to test them, that's fun. But that's where those home prices come from.
Thanks, June. So I was able to reach out to a realtor, and he happens to also be a board member. So he pulled up some data because I know there was concern about whether or not there was a market for houses in that price range. So this is data from this year. 13 homes closed and 3 are pending right now, with sales prices from $292,000 to $399,000. And then he actually, when he was looking, he goes, "Isn't the project we're doing on North Plain Road?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh my God, that's such a desirable project." He said, "Such a desirable property. Look at all the sales that we've had just this year." So a 2-bedroom sold for $363,000, a 2-bedroom sold at $378,200, a 4-bedroom sold for $372,000, but that was pre-COVID in January of 20. Another 3-bedroom on North Plain sold for $380,000. And then, of course, the outlier of a 4-bedroom of $688,500. So I also asked him, what's really going on in the real estate community right now? And he said 2-bedroom units are less desirable now due to COVID, where you just need that extra space for working and homeschooling, and people want the security of more space. And there's still this limited inventory exists in that price range that these houses are looking at filling. So I think somebody on the commission is a realtor, aren't they? Or no? So anybody have any questions on that one?
Yeah, Carolyn, we have to factor in the square footage. I know some of these houses personally, and they're quite a bit larger. And I think that this does not represent the neighborhood of Housatonic, nor the recent sales in Housatonic as much as I'm aware of. These are, in some cases, much larger homes.
He did look at that, Fred. And I guess because he's a realtor, he has the ability to look at what the inside conditions are. So he said like the one that's a 4-bedroom is absolutely beautiful. It's all new inside. I think the square footage on that might be 3,000 square foot, he told me. So it is larger than that, but many of the other ones are not larger in size. In fact, the one is only 960 square feet and needed updating. So I don't get to see what the inside of those look like, but you know, he did. And Habitat has 3 realtors on the board, one of which is on our finance committee. So they would not be looking, and we're actually not hoping that we have to go that high in price, but we did have to use some assumptions. Let's see. And these are 2 of the families that just closed actually in August, and they're celebrating their first holidays in their new home. And June, do you want to go over the budget assumptions? Or
Sure.
unless people have, or answer questions on the budget assumptions maybe?
Well, let's save the questions to the end,
Okay.
but yeah, the budget assumptions were in the proposal, so everyone should have seen them. Nothing has changed with that. So the things that we had to think about, you know, we're planning a budget for a project that isn't going to start until after the MassWorks grant. So we're really budgeting for at least a couple of years from now. And so, and of course, unprecedented times. Someone had to say it tonight. So, for example, material prices in building have gone up 20 to 25%. And we had to ask, you know, will that go back down? If it doesn't go back down, will it continue to go up? And if it continues to go up, will it continue to go up at that rate? So we are assuming that it won't go down because it never does after catastrophes, but that it will not continue to increase at this rate. So those are the kind of things that we had to use in order to structure the budget. But since everyone's already read them, I won't read them to you. But there they are, and we can come back to them if needed.
Thanks, June. And I'm going to assume that's the same thing with the budget. If anybody has specific questions, we'll hold that to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure everyone's very interested in the potential tax revenue for Great Barrington.
So I will go over this just so that you know what I was thinking when I put it together, so you have an idea. Again, we don't know which units we're going to build because Habitat builds for the people who have a need and are part of their building program. That's kind of a cool thing as far as the budget goes, or as far as sales go. You know that the house is going to get sold because you've already got the person there building the house. But as far as tax revenue goes, it will fluctuate a little bit depending on which size units get built. Now, it will not fluctuate. Well, yeah, it'll fluctuate depending on the size units that are built. What we don't know is what the assessors will do. The assessors could rank all the 3 bedrooms at the same tax rate, you know, and not base it on the actual sale price. So that can move. That's a little bit unpredictable. So this is a very conservative estimate. I like conservative estimates for numbers. I don't like to overpromise. And we did do it in 3 stages. So each stage is lined up to show you what the taxes would be. Line 41M will give you the taxes from stage 1, line 47M, stage 2, line 54M, stage 3, and then the total is right underneath there.
Okay.
So I did want to mention that sometimes if there's a deed restriction on it, they're going to take that into consideration too when they assess the property.
That would be ideal. Also,
Yeah,
you know,
they generally do.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great, Bill. And we already had all of our kind of what we build standard-wise, our sustainability in there. But if you have any questions, I could always go back to that slide. But I thought this was a really cool slide because this is really what Habitat does best. I'm admitting people. Our homes are really built with joy and they're built for a bright future. And I love that picture, so I included it. We really work hard to make sure it's a green community. We recycle as many products as we can. We keep a very clean site throughout our whole time. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about our management plan. I know I detailed it in the proposal, but from the time that we take ownership of the property, even when the town is working with us on getting the MassWorks grant, our civil engineer is this who has site control over it, just like we did with Pittsfield. What would happen is we assist the town in applying for the grant. Then what we also do is you have to go out for your own procurement under the government regulations, and the payments from the MassWorks money comes directly to the town. The town then pays the invoices as they come in, but those invoices are approved by the civil engineer who is on the site and ensures that the work was done and was work that was done to the standards of the RFP. So he manages all of that. Habitat staff, our construction staff, is also there checking in and stuff during the infrastructure stages, but the civil engineer is the one who actually is responsible for signing off on everything to make sure that it was what they said it was going to be. And then we stay with the homeowner association, because we have to train people that are going into this project to be ready to be a member of the homeowners association. And we've been doing this well, I've been here 13 years, and even before that. So it's really important to have somebody stand beside you. And what we found is that as they get really good at it, they can make decisions. We're still the property management company for the first 5 years, making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. The yards are maintained. If somebody doesn't follow the guidelines, we're the one that makes the phone call. Our accountant does all of the collection of escrows and all of that stuff, so that we make sure that all of the taxes are paid and all of that. So we stay with the homeownership association for the whole time that it exists. We just find that we need to take a less active role as time goes by. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And when one of our bankers that sits on our finance committee and on our board looked over our homeowners association, or our homeowners, what they have to do to be able to get approved for a mortgage, not just from the banking side, but the learning side. He said it's easier to get through a loan with Bank of America than to purchase a Habitat home. And they're more prepared once they get through it, which kind of brings me to the next slide. We really think it's important to make sure that people are able to have all the tools necessary to be successful. That's what we look at. That's what our outcomes show. Our outcomes show that when people are in Habitat home ownership, they increase their income, they have better health, their kids have better education outcomes. So it's having that stability and being prepared all along the process of building their homes with us that really makes the difference. And these are 3 homeowners. The one on the left actually is a homeowner for 20 years and still volunteers with Habitat. The one, Norma, on the right, she has been a homeowner for 5 years and still volunteers with us. And Courtney closed on her house last year and is still volunteering with us. So it's not like people buy their homes and then we're not still part of the community together. We continue on and rejoice in their success. And then I just have some pictures about, how do we get these affordable homes built? You notice that no developers came in to put in bids, right? Well, there's a reason for that. It's really hard to build affordable homes, but we do it through leveraging our connections. We had a home builders blitz last year. We had 169 professionals that volunteered their time. to get us off the ground with 6 units. We have a commitment from our main lead contractor, Allegroni, that he'll be involved with the project and Housatonic as well. As will Linda Shafroff from Creative Building Solutions and a whole host of other folks. Here's a picture of one of the crews. And then we also invite people to come and build with us for volunteers. Now, right now, that's very challenging because of COVID. We can't have any large groups on site. We did have a group 2 weeks ago, but we could do that because it was all outside work and there was a lot of space. And we do not see being able to lift that for probably the next 3 to 6 months if we're lucky. If the numbers were to go down, then we'd be able to start having volunteers on site again. But we're also lucky that we have the Habitat Building Repair Corps that is the training program. So we have those young people on site every day. So they're learning skills. And 2 of them have already said they want to stay on for another cohort because they're just feeling like they're really learning a lot and they want to see the houses that they're working on get completed. So, whoops. So this is the view of the first 2 units that we had at Gordon Deming. That one's the ones that Miko and the other folks are built in. I'm just going to pull out a couple of quick pictures. Maybe this one, it sums it up. This is how we all get along and get our work done. This is pre-COVID. Don't worry, they would have had masks on otherwise. But thank you for letting June and I do our presentation, and we're ready for questions.
Okay, so questions from the board. Fred, you had some questions.
I do, and I had written them down and I'd shared them with Bill. I think basically I'm very concerned about the marketing plan and the ability of the marketplace to absorb these homes at the prices that you're talking about. That's the second point is I think at the higher end of some of these houses, it's challenging the notion of affordability. When we get over 300,000, your top houses at 100% AMI are 304,000 and 351,000. And I think that's way beyond what any reasonable person. Now, I looked at your percentages and distribution only has 2 units at that level, whether 3 or 4 bedroom houses. And the majority of the houses are going to be, you know, at the 80% AMI, we hope. And I think that that's a very big concern. I don't think that Housatonic can absorb houses in the $350,000 range with deed restrictions as affordable housing, albeit they're going to be large. I mean, you're talking about for a 3-bedroom, even at the $251,000, $235 per square foot. And I didn't do the calculations for the 350, but I think it's about $300 a square foot that we're talking about. And I just think it's pushing the definition of affordability way beyond where we need to go. A market survey could have looked at what the market can absorb, what the need is for the community. I know that everybody says that they would like a house and do it at an affordable rate, but it really needs to be quantified and it needs to be done on a square foot basis. I think that
Fred,
just talking to realtors is not sufficient.
Fred, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
We just don't, we don't want to have to answer all 12 questions at once. So if you want to take a break, we can answer some of the ones you've already answered and then asked, and then we can move on.
I think that those two are related to it.
Okay, but can we pause
Yeah,
for an
please do.
answer? Okay, great. Carolyn, shall I, or?
You can. The only thing
Okay.
I did want to say is that those market surveys will be done, but they're not usually done before you own the land, especially as a habitat, because they're not inexpensive. So, I mean, obviously for us to put the final project together, that will be part of, and June will talk a little bit more about how it works in the affordable housing WIP thing and all that. But go ahead, June.
Right. So the important thing to say right now is that, these are theoretical numbers because we are putting together a project and figuring out how much it will cost. That was the big thing, how much it will cost to build and whether that money can come back through the sales and whether it'll meet the need that's been identified. So the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust does serve up to 100% of area median income. I didn't make up the 100% of area median income. That came from the government. So that is that's a real number. The cool thing in this situation, though, when we do this for rentals, we are building for theoretical people. We don't know who is going to move into these units, but Habitat does, because Habitat starts working with families on other buildings before they even start putting sweat equity into their own house. And Habitat has a pipeline of families that they're working with. Now, Habitat has not worked in South County yet, so this will be challenging, but we have a lot of time because we still have to do the MassWorks grant. We still have to do the funding applications. So there's plenty of time to figure that out. And that's why I said, this is a theoretical mix of units. We are not completely sure that that's how these units are going to go. So then the next logical question that would follow on that would be like, well, what if you don't get the higher end buyers? You get, your mix is mostly the middle and lower end buyers. Can you still make your budget? Carolyn, can you switch to the budget slide? And one of the answers there is some of our sources. So you'll notice that 17, I don't have my A, B, C, D, E, row 17 at the end, where it says the FHLB is the Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program, and it only serves 80%, but it's a pass-through. So if they give funding for a house, that funding has to pass through to the buyer. So that's taken into account for the calculations, but it's not taken into account for the actual sale price of the house, right? We keep the sale price all the way up so that if we have to pass through that savings, right, there's still enough income coming in from that house to balance the budget. So then as far as the market survey is concerned, it's just not time for that yet. First of all, there wasn't time between when the RFP was issued and the RFP was due. You can't get a market study done that fast. But secondly, the market study, you have to ask the question, is there a market for these houses? And if they said which houses, we'd be like, we don't know. So, we're still at the theoretical stage of this development. So there will be a market study as part of the local initiatives program, because remember that these are going to be affordable in perpetuity. We're not just looking for whether there will be a need for affordable housing now. We're looking for whether there will be a need for affordable housing in perpetuity. And to calculate that, you'd look at market trends, in Great Barrington over time. So far, they do seem to be pointing in that direction. Okay, Carolyn, did you want to?
I would also just like to interject that we did not ask for a market study in the RFP.
Thanks, Bill.
Good,
No,
because
I
we didn't
think
have time to do one.
Fred, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And I wanted to say that a number of the other issues were resolved in the presentation, things that were in the presentation that weren't in the proposal.
See, Fred, we wanted to have something exciting for you to want to watch.
I have to leave at 7 o'clock. I don't know if you were told that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm trying to get through this, and I'm sorry I won't be able to vote. I have a question about the assumption that was made to only build 3 and 4 bedroom houses. And it seems to me that if we're building affordable houses, we need to think about building houses for a variety of people in the community. And not everybody has 3 or 4 children. Certainly when they're starting out, when a young couple wants to start their family and get a house and things like that, they may not need 3 bedrooms. They may not qualify for 3 bedrooms. Why not? Why can't we put in some 2-bedroom mixes, for a single mom and 1 kid or whatnot?
Fred, again, that is something that Habitat has done in the past. So what happens is when we get all of the applications in, you start really getting an idea of how many bedrooms do you need? What is that mix? What is the schedule of it? So we can adapt to those things. But right now, with the current situation being what it is, we thought the safest thing to do is think that the smallest unit you're going to get is a 3-bedroom. If when we start, the MassWorks grant is over, is the infrastructure is in and we're starting to do houses and we have a whole bunch of applications. If we see, there's a whole bunch of people that really need 2 bedrooms, then we'll make adjustments for that. And we can still make the numbers work because it doesn't cost that much less to build a 3-bedroom than it does a 2-bedroom.
Understood. But, it seems like if you're building, you've included 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom units because the AMI standards are higher, and therefore the qualification.
No. So keep in mind that these are assumptions. They are not rules. We are not saying that we are making any kind of pledge or promise or commitment to only build 3-bedroom houses. We're making an assumption based on our current knowledge of the market and our prediction for what the market will bear in the future.
Can we make an assumption about the 14 units versus the 20 units, particularly having to do with the infrastructure?
We would plan on having the infrastructure be able to support the 20 units.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's the only way that makes sense. And it also gives flexibility on the other end. And Fred, I really want to make sure that I'm reassuring you on that one that I showed you, which is the 2 units that we're building right now. That was that last slide. When we first came up with what our rationale was going to be for that project, was we were thinking that it was going to be 3 bedrooms because of what we had done. We know Pittsfield's market pretty well, but when we saw that the 2 women had 1 child and that's what they only really wanted were 2 bedrooms, but in the basement, there's another area that they can use for homeschooling or anything like that. So we really do adapt to what the community needs. And I would be surprised if we don't end up with some 2 units, but I think we have to look at what is the today, and then we'll adjust to the future.
I guess what I want to be is, I'm almost done and I can give it back, but I just want to be reassured that we will be building affordable houses, which I would think would be more of the 60, the range of prices that you have at the 60-80% AMI houses, and
no, this is emergency only. We are not going to see them. Us normal people.
Where's that coming from?
Bill, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Fred, thank you for thinking through it and having good questions. We really appreciate that.
Anyone else on the board? John, Larissa, Garfield?
Yeah.
I'm trying to mute the back noise that's coming, but
Yes. I don't know where it's coming from. Everybody seems to be muted except
us.
us.
I can mute.
Not from my hospital.
No, it's not you.
No.
It's coming from somewhere. but I don't know where.
Basically, these are just projections.
I think it was Shep.
It was Shep.
Okay.
Carolyn and June, these are basically projections in here.
Yes.
That's really what we're dealing with. And I think that, I mean, I have a lot of questions about it, but I don't think they're worth bringing up, quite frankly, because we're talking 3 to 4 years from now.
Oh.
And, all of this could change. But it's, you know, and it may very well be that what you've done is going to turn out to be fairly accurate. But I do agree to a small extent with Fred about some of the house prices. I mean, basically what you're saying is it's going to cost you, if I'm reading this correctly, $7 million to build the 20 units. And then you're counting on, you're putting in volunteer labor here and giving it a value, which I wouldn't do. But I come from a financial background, so that's just my opinion. But donated materials and in kind is fine. And then you have the various potential grants. But, you know, my feeling is you and Carolyn have been at this for a long, long time. And I think that we have to take that into account and not nitpick at what you've done.
Bill, this is Jane. Can I speak to John's concern?
Yes.
So what I'm hoping you all have been able to hear in the presentation is not just the content, but the process that Habitat goes through to make good decisions in a changing environment. And obviously what the needs of the family are, the household that's going to buy the house, that's very important. But the needs of the community are right up there as well. So I hope that you heard the process through which the decisions will be made, in addition to the best estimate on what the content would be.
Well, I agree. I agree with you, Jane, and that's really what I was indirectly referring to, because, you know, if these were all going to be built next year, it would be one thing. But if they're not going to be built next year, and a lot of it could change.
Yes. Even at this
So
point,
Habitat has been very successful in what it's done. I was first introduced to them by my cousin Jack Stern a long time ago, probably before Carolyn was there. And I have a lot of faith in their ability with June to get this done. But I don't think it really does much help to go beyond the basics. I mean, what you're talking about is building 20 units right now. Is that correct?
So we're proposing as much as 20 units. And I think because we have the budget up, that's a nice segue there. Those funding sources, the Small Town Housing Initiative, the Federal Home Loan Bank, CPA funded, those aren't guaranteed. You know, each time those have to be applied for. And so we're assuming that there's going to be a 2-year gap between each stage of the building. So the total number of units is going to depend, one, on the need, and then of course on the saturation, and then 2, on the possibility of getting the funding, and also the volunteer labor and the donated materials and in kind. We did factor in some donor fatigue and say that, people might be very excited about it at the beginning. It might slow down over time. We don't know that. It hasn't happened to Habitat yet. So And it's, you know, a new thing in South County. I think there's a lot of excitement about it coming to South County, but it could happen. So we're conservative on that. And then it's possible that after 2 stages, we don't have enough funding. And so we don't proceed with the 3rd stage, or maybe not for a while.
Can I ask this is Fred, can I just ask a quick question? June, you alluded to a couple of years between phases, and I see on this slide that's up, you have 3 phases of 7 in the brackets there. It's 7 units, 6 units in the 2nd stage, and 7 units in the 3rd stage. I understand that could be adjusted, but I do want to talk about the schedule a little bit, or ask about the schedule. As I understand it, the MassWork grant is due next summer, so we would apply in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
With construction likely to be in 2022 for infrastructure, which would make, I would think, your first Habitat house construction to either be late 2022 or early 23. So perhaps we could build out phase 1 a year or so, and 23, 2 years in between. 25 we're talking about for phase 2. And 27, I mean, we're looking at 7 or 8 years to build out.
Well, some of the initial stuff can happen simultaneously. So I would start applying for the funding next year in 2021, and so it would be available in fiscal year 2022, right when the building was able to start. So then, because if you apply in 2021, you can't apply again until 2023 for at least the small town housing initiative. It would be 1 year sooner than, 2 years sooner than you thought, because that funding and the MassWorks can coincide. So it may not be as far out as that.
For those of us who aren't familiar with this on a day-to-day basis, the lead time sometimes can be a bit surprising.
It can, absolutely. The thing is, the 2 years is based on the year in which you apply, not the year in which you get the grant. So it won't be that bad at the beginning. So I don't know. You know, it could be more than 2 years in between stages, depending on, you know, you might not get some of the funding and may not be able to proceed, or maybe you would proceed at a smaller pace, you know, maybe it's more than 3 stages. Don't know yet.
And it could be that you, when we did Gordon Deming, when the MassWorks infrastructure was being put in, we were putting in the house foundations at the same time. And we put in the 6 house foundations in, you know, within the same 2-week period. So we got those in, and then we started completing them, you know, just like a domino effect. So it may be that maybe funding comes in better than we expected. I mean, there's some new leadership at HUD, so there may be more home ownership. I've heard a lot of things around that. So if there's additional home ownership funding, we could say, you know what, phase 1 can be 9 instead of 7. But we really have to play with what's the reality of the day and what the applications are.
Right. We divided it in thirds. Basically, that's kind of arbitrary. That doesn't have to happen that way.
Carolyn, what other sources do you have in the back of your mind, other than the ones that are listed here?
So we know that we have funds for the houses that we're selling now. We anticipate that some of these homes will be financed through USDA. So those monies can come in during construction. I've done USDA 502 construction loans so that they come in at the same time. Habitat takes a portion of all of our funds to put in reserves for future building. We're going to be getting, I don't know, 300,000 or about that'll be earmarked for the next stage project. But we have a finance committee of 9, so they take a very active role in making sure that we have future building funds. And we'll be doing lots of, we do a lot of grant writing. but we'll also be doing a lot of fundraising because, as June said, we haven't really even asked in South County for donations. And we're also working with Habitat International because we know quite a few folks give out of South County to Habitat International. But I think when we have the signs up where it says build local, give local, we'll be siphoning off some of the funds that usually go to them. And that's allowed by the rules.
Good. Any other questions from the board?
I have a question or question. And mine are sort of directly related to the community / the existing space there. For those of you that don't know, I work at my family's tree service business in Sheffield. And I am wondering if Habitat in the past or now would consider bringing on a consulting arborist to look into like construction injury to trees to make sure that we're protecting the trees that are going to stay for the neighbors as well as the ones you guys are going to keep. Have you guys ever worked with an arborist to do anything like that on construction projects?
We have not. We've only had to take down, since I've been here and I'm 13 years, we've only had to take down 3 trees. So that's a very good suggestion and I'm making a note of it right now. I served on another board with somebody who does a lot with the preservation of trees and is very knowledgeable. He's the one who found out the cottonwood tree that's in Pittsfield is the state's biggest, and and my office is right next to it, so he calls and has me take pictures of it. So I'm sure I could give him a call and ask him to give me some of his expertise for that.
Nice. And if you need a couple other names, I already sort of asked, and I have a couple people that would be willing to donate their time to Habitat. So
thank you, Larissa.
Yeah, of course. We have to save the trees. And you guys put in the packet the meetings that you're planning to continue or the discussions you're continuing to have with the community. I just wanted to say that I appreciate that. And I did just take my conflict of interest training, Bill, but is there any issue with me attending those?
No, you're
that'd be great.
Community, so I think that would be wonderful.
Okay.
We really reach out. I think I mentioned in the proposal that the board voted to leave spaces open for South County board members. We already have a couple of South County board members. 2 of our staff are from South County. Actually, 3 of our staff are from South County. So we're really making sure that we have people that are really knowledgeable about the area and really feel a part of that community already. So anybody that's interested on serving a committee will be opening up home buyer selection. I included a home buyer selection manual on the flash drive that I gave. It's like 52 pages, so I didn't put that in your thing. But, we really look to building a community with the community. So anybody that wants to pitch in and be a part of it, I know you're an architect, Brad. I'm not going to ask you on camera if there's a conflict, but I'd love to get your opinion on house designs once they're put together. So it really does take all of us to make this work.
I think that's it for me.
Okay. I just have one overarching question. Do you feel confident that you'll be able to find people that want to have homes built for 14 units of housing here?
I feel very confident about it. I already know some of them.
Yeah,
Okay,
I feel very, very confident. We've been doing a lot of work with neighbor to neighbor programs. So one of the things that we've been looking at is how much money people are paying for rentals.
Yeah.
And they are people that are not renting from June, right? They're people that are trying to do it on the free market themselves. We had somebody that just the other day that's paying $950 a month for a room, and they're like 4 people living in it. So that's crazy. So we really think that there's an opportunity to fill a really big need in this community. And I'm just really proud of Ray Barrington for taking this step to say affordable housing is important, and affordable home ownership is the way we want to go.
That's great. So I have a question for the board. do you feel comfortable taking a vote on this tonight, or did you want to postpone that till our January 6th meeting?
Well, does Fred have to leave? If,
In 5 or 10 minutes.
okay. I would want to hear from anyone who's here from the neighborhood or the community first. That would be.
Yeah, I agree, Bill. I'm not sure that there's an urgency to vote tonight. I think we need to get the input from the community.
Okay, well, we did get a lot of input when we put the RFP together.
Is that recorded?
Oh yeah.
In what format?
It's a MP4, I think.
No, I mean, did we make a memo of community comments?
Well, I think they were incorporated into the RFP, essentially.
Well, they were distilled, you mean?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I mean, I really think most of the community input was in developing the RFP. And we had outreach, the meetings that Habitat had with the community, and
Well, I mean, the situation right now is that this is it's the only proposal we've got, the only response we got to our RFQ or RFP. And it's a reasonable proposal. It will create, it answers everything that we asked for. A few of us feel a little apprehensive that it's not more definitive. I would personally like a pledge that houses be no more than, X dollars, but that's not what we asked for in the RFP. We asked for 100% of AMI, so, it is responsive to that. I think that the only reason for postponing a vote is if there are outstanding questions or if there are other stakeholders that we want to hear from or other board members who couldn't be present tonight that we want to have their opinion weighed in on.
I don't know. I think all of our board members are here tonight. I'm not going to push for a vote if you're not ready, but it seems like no one has any particular objection to this proposal. I think it's a pretty good proposal.
Yeah, I just would, if we can make time to take any questions, and then I just.
If anyone in the audience has a question or concern, I'll entertain questions. Just you have to use the raise your hand feature.
Bill, do you want me to give you host privilege back?
We're co-hosts. I'm still.
Oh, okay. So you can do whatever you need. Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I need to go. I have a previous commitment.
All right.
Happy holidays.
So I suppose we should wait until the next meeting. Oh, here's somebody.
Hi, I think it says iPad. It
Yeah.
may not say my name. Hi, I'm Laura DuPont. I live at 5 Comstock Lane, and I'm a butter of the property.
Yeah.
We just had a couple of questions after listening to the presentation tonight. We just wanted some clarification on.
Sure.
One, are we understanding correctly that if this project that was proposed tonight goes through, that we're looking at construction not even starting into 2023?
Probably. Yeah.
No, that is incorrect.
No?
Okay.
Yeah, so this is kind of the timeline. The MassWorks grant usually, nothing's set in stone, but the MassWorks grant application usually comes out in August. And part of the grant is that you have to be shovel ready for the spring. So that's why making a decision now gives us the time to get all of the work that needs to be done to submit with the town for the MassWorks. So you would see official groundbreaking in 22.
Okay. in like spring of 22?
Realistically, if they get the contract out, it would be, I mean, what our experience was this time, we ended up getting in the ground in August. So one of the things that they try to do is, you know, we have a definitive building season here. So they have a short period of time for whoever wins the mass work contracts to get in the ground and get it done. And we were able to work it out with the person who won to be able to start doing our foundations at the same time. So we wanted to try to contain the number of big trucks and stuff that were on the site and whatnot. So we would try to do a similar thing like that.
So we're looking at possibly the earliest would be August of 2022.
Correct. That would be the earliest.
And if I understand you correctly, too, talking about the different phases and a couple years in between phases, are we looking at possibly looking at and listening to construction for over 10 years for this project to be complete from, you know, start to finish?
Oh, I would not anticipate that at all.
What would you anticipate?
I mean, our goal, I think, is to get the majority of this knocked out in 6 years. I mean, the big thing is when you can apply for grants, like the Small Towns Initiative, we have to take a period off, as Jean described, but we'll probably be looking for other assistant or, you know, a different mix during that time so that we can just be continual.
Okay. And did I also understand correctly? So you actually design the units based on the application. So you receive applications first, you see what applicants have written on their applications, and then based on that information is how you design the units. You don't design the units beforehand and then people apply to purchase one of the units that's already been designed?
Well, we have they're not all standardized designs, but we know like what a 3-bedroom normally looks like, what a 4-bedroom. We have maybe 3 designs of 3 bedrooms, 3 designs of 4 bedrooms, a couple of designs for 2 bedrooms. We have designs for ranch. So we kind of have, so it's not like we're a custom builder where they can come and say, oh, I want a this, a this, a this. It's like, all right, my family size is X. And we even look at the distribution of kids. So that's how that sorting kind of goes.
Okay, so as abutters, are we gonna be able to see what the proposed designs look like, and like what a proposed 4-bedroom looks like, what a proposed 3-bedroom looks like that would possibly be built on the property?
Yeah, we'll have we are calling it a catalog.
Yep.
It's not like you're shopping out of a Sears Roebuck catalog, but like these are the most likely designs, unless some outlier comes in, you know, like there could be, I don't know, if we had somebody that was 100% wheelchair bound all the time and they needed some special things like that, you know, something like that we might have to make adjustments for. But again, that would definitely be a ranch. But the 2 primary folks that are going to be looking at, they're planning on walking the site as soon as we own the property and the weather breaks. And then they're going to start putting together some of the sample layouts.
Okay, so you would actually have a catalog, so to speak, of the designs you would propose to be put on the property.
Right.
And then after the applications come in and you need like 6 3-bedrooms, it would be the 3-bedroom that's in the catalog.
Yes.
Roughly.
Or we might, I mean, a little bit of it is also on the orientation. So they kind of match up what orientation can go in, you know, depending on where it's going to be on the site. So that's taken into consideration as well. And sometimes it's just turning the building in a different way.
Okay. And I guess my last question is about the property, the trees. I guess we'll go back to the tree situation. So, I don't know if you guys have walked the property yet or not. I assumed you did because they purchased it. But there really aren't any trees that are very viable left. There are some pines that are still out there, but when Alden's bought the property, they came in and cut down, I would say 90% of the trees, and everything grew back in over those years. And so it is really a field or a piece of property full of sumac, weeds, things like that. So in terms of the property border, there really isn't any good trees along the edge of our property and our neighbors' properties and this property. So if that's part of the design, are trees going to be planted that are going to help with that? Are there going to, will they be like a border of trees planted to help distinguish the border between the current neighborhood and this property?
Normally what we do, much like we did on Gordon Deming, when the engineer does his site plan, he also adds in like the rain gardens and the trees that he thinks should be there. And then we also try to make sure that we're getting ones that are native to the community. So he does that as part of his site plan. He draws that all in. So as those things are getting done, if you would like to be on like a committee of giving input, we would love that. So, you can share your thoughts, because one of the things that, we've felt really strongly about through this whole process is making sure that the people that live in the neighborhood are happy with the outcomes. So any input that you can give, we're hoping to start like a Facebook group. I know the neighborhood has a Facebook group, and I mean, if they would like to invite us into that, that would be great. Otherwise, we probably will have some kind of a communication tool where people can say, hey, we were thinking about XYZ, what do you think? And then our person that will be overseeing the site will be looking at all of that information and bringing it back to the planning and development team saying, hey, we're getting a lot of people that are really interested in XYZ.
Yeah, so I know that we shared that with you when we met with you over tea or coffee. We had expressed that one of our biggest concerns is there be a natural border between the current neighborhood and this property. And what I'm trying to say is that there currently isn't that. I mean, what there is our property, and then there's a bunch of sumacs. So there isn't currently already trees that are really viable to make a nice border. So
we're gonna have to add them.
Right. So that's my question is. So my question is part of this design is to add some trees that would give that natural border between the two properties.
Yeah, and they'll probably have a mix of trees. They'll have some mature trees, but they'll also probably have ones that will be able to build up over time as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering all.
Anyone else from the audience? I don't see any other hands raised. Garfield, I heard you, it looked like you were muted for a while there, that you had something that you wanted to say?
Oh, no. We lose him, did we?
No, he's still there. And he's not muted anymore.
No.
But maybe he can't hear me.
Garfield, nod your head if you can hear us. Okay.
Okay. Say something.
Turn your volume up.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
Turn your volume up. If that's not it. Oh.
Well, I guess we won't vote on things tonight.
Yeah, I got an email from a couple people in Housatonic that wanted to come, but they couldn't because it's a Friday night. So I sent them to our website to read the proposal, but maybe we should just wait till our next meeting.
All right, we'll wait till our next meeting. It's already scheduled for the 6th, I believe. Yes, January 6th. Everybody should make it, as far as I know.
That's right.
Well,
I would like to vote on this.
June and I on it?
Say what?
Would you like June and I to attend?
I think you probably should plan on it.
Okay.
Yep.
I would really like to get a vote on this so we can start preparing for our MassWorks grant if things go smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. My feeling is that, they've done a very good job here, and I'm not completely familiar with the cost of building homes and the like other than our own. But I think that I'd be willing to, depending on what comments come in, I'd be willing to support this. There are going to be changes, Bill, no matter what we do.
Oh, yeah.
They can come up with, they could redo the whole proposal and there's still going to be changes.
Yeah.
I think they've done a terrific job here.
I do too.
As a base.
Yep.
So Garfield, bring your questions to the January meeting.
I really don't have any anymore.
Okay. Well, let's see. In that case, thank you, Carolyn and June.
Thank you.
We will see you at the beginning of next year.
All right. See you next year.
Happy holiday.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
I do have a few more things. Trustees speak. Anything anybody would like to say?
I'm good.
Okay. Citizens speak. Anyone other than our iPad guest? I don't see anything there. Anything from the media? No one seems to be raising a hand. And we've already set the next meeting date for January 6th at 6 p.m.
We have a hand.
by Zoom. We do have a hand?
Eric?
Ah, yes. Eric, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing? Eric Gabriel. Sorry, came a little late to the dance tonight.
Okay.
I was just looking to get myself caught up. So where can I find the proposal that you showed tonight, so I can read up on it for your next meeting?
It is on the website. It's gbhousing.org. And it is under our programs. I believe it's listed as the Alden property.
Okay, great.
The entire proposal is on that page.
Great.
There's a link to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? I don't see anybody else. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Larissa, can you give me a call? I want to talk to you about something.
Yeah,
You have my number.
my dad does.
Okay. And in that case, without objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Have a happy holidays.
You have to roll call vote us? No?
You have to roll call vote, don't you?
I don't think it matters, does it?
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks.